Hi guys, good evening. Yeah, okay. Yeah, thanks for the very positive feedback about the video I uploaded on three things you need to know about Canada study permit. It's been very impressive. If you haven't seen the video, just check within this page, within this channel rather, you would see the video. So I had promised to detail my experience with Canada study visa or study permit application. And I said that I was going to talk about the three most important things that you need to consider when you're applying for Canada study permits. And in the previous video, I talked about proof of funds, which we call POF. Again, if you haven't seen the video, you should just check within this channel, and then you would find the video there. And then I promised to conclude the series with the other two things, which is purpose of visit and home tie. So I'm going to be starting with purpose of visit. Purpose of visit is this idea that you need to justify the reason why you're going for the study you're going for. So let me break it down. If you just wake up from nowhere and decide you're going to school, the question then becomes, do you really have genuine intention to go to school, or you just want to emigrate out of your country and then you want to use education as a means to emigrate? Now, Canada is very specific on the need to apply for the kind of visa that serves the purpose you intended to serve. What do I mean? If you want to emigrate, they have the permanent residency route, which you should take. But if you want to study, then you can apply through the study permit route. They don't want a situation where people have other objectives, but then they use the study permit application and then they go to the country, or they get to the country, they don't go to the school, and then they start working illegally or become illegal migrants. There are many people that gain admission, get visa, and go to school. And enter the country that has given them the visa, but they don't show up in school. And then the next thing, they show up trying to claim asylum or seek asylum, as the case may be. So that's the reason for that purpose of visit. Now, that purpose of visit is also tied to what we call career progression. So if you decide that you want to go to school, there has to be a reason for your going to school. Now, let me use myself as an example. I studied accounting first degree, right? And then, but I have never practiced as an accountant for one day. I have worked in business analysis and project management. Now, if I want to apply for study permit to go and study accounting, the question then becomes, you graduated as an accountant, you've not worked as an accountant. You graduated from an accounting program. You've not worked as an accountant before, and then all of a sudden you show up to want to do additional study in accounting. What's the purpose? What's the objective? So what I just did was to look for an admission in project management, and I got it. And again, when you're filling the forms, there are portions where you're going to fill your work history and your education history. So they expect to see the program you're going for to tie into the admission you have obtained. So in my own case, I was already doing business analysis and project management, and I got admission to study project management. So in my SOP, or call statement of purpose, I just explained that, okay, I need this for that study to and I would get that sort of thing. That's what the purpose of visit is. So what generally people advise, and I like to just say that I am not a registered Canadian immigration consultant, and what I am telling you is just my own view from going through the process. I am not giving you immigration advice because I do not have the certifications or the license to do that. So I can't be quoted, right? because I am not a registered Canadian immigration consultant. Let's just be clear on that. But I'm just telling you my own experience. So what generally people then advise is that you do a program that is in line with what you have been practicing. If you graduated as an accountant, you have been practicing accounting, of course you can go for further study in accounting. And now don't be boxed down to your first degree. Ideally, you should apply for a program that is in line with where you have been working. And if for any reason you want to, maybe in my own case, if I want to go and do additional study in accounting and I have not been practicing as an accountant, then they will be looking for the explanation in my statement of purpose. And I can explain that, okay, I didn't really get a chance to practice accounting post graduation, and all effort to backtrack has not worked, and so I want to go and do additional study in Canada and come back to my country and hope that I can maybe get an accounting role. You just tell them something that makes sense, but don't just show up from nowhere and go and study a program and somebody is looking at it and it doesn't seem to tie to your first degree or tie to your work experience. Give an example. People hear, oh, nursing, they pay a lot of money, and then boom, from nowhere they start applying to go and study nursing. Now, even if you get the admission, if you have not been doing anything related to healthcare, chances are that you will not be given the visa, right? You've been doing, you've been working in a bank, and then boom, nowhere, you just show up and say you want to go study nursing. That's already like a red flag. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't study nursing. It just means that what is the purpose of that study? Then you need to explain in your statement of purpose, okay, I've been working in a bank, but I have also been volunteering as a healthcare support worker in my country, and of course be ready to attach documentary evidence. And then at this point, I want to change my career, blah, 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 whatever it is that you think is enough justification, you put into your statement of purpose, and that will be it. Now, the last thing I'm going to be talking about is home tie. Like the name implies, home and tie. What is tying you to your home? Home in this case maybe is your country. If you're from Nigeria or you're from anywhere in Africa or anywhere you may come from, that's your home. So they expect you to also provide a compelling reason that would make it impossible for you to stay illegally in their country. It doesn't mean when you cross the border, you cannot then change your mind to say, okay, I came on a study permit, but I now want to emigrate, right? I want to stay here permanently. That your application has nothing to do with whether you stay permanently or you don't stay permanently. But at the point where you're making that application, you have to justify, you have to appear to be somebody who really want to go to school, right? And then all of the things you want to be thinking about is, I want to go to school and I want to use these additional qualifications for my career in this way and this other way, and maybe possibly return back to my country to get this job or that other job. You just have to justify at the point where you're making those applications. Now, if you're married and you're not putting in your spouse in the application, that is a compelling home tie, right? If you're going alone, or yes, if you're going alone now, you're married and your wife, you're not putting in your wife's application into the same your wife is not in the same application with you. You can just state it and say, okay, I'm traveling for school, my wife is back in the country, and in that case my wife is my home tie or something like that. Now, the warning, however, is that if you state that your wife is your home tie and you enter the country, and 1 month down the line, you apply for your wife to join you, the question then becomes, in your application, you had stated that your wife was your home tie, but you're barely in the country, and then you're now applying for your family to join you. So just think about it. Like they say, no two application is the same. What works for A will not work for B. But yes, your family is an important home tie, compelling. Nobody's going to refuse you for home tie if you have a spouse and your spouse is not in the same application with you. In some instances, your parents can be a good home tie, not very compelling. If you have property in your country, you have landed property, it can be a good home tie. If you have siblings in your country and they are still residents in your country, it can be a good home tie. If you have social activities you participate in, if you're very active in your church, you can explain and say, okay, I've been in this church, I have been an usher for 15 years in this church, and whatever makes sense to you. If the idea is that, tell us something that can convince us that you have the intention to go back to your country after your study. Now, at the worst case scenario, what this does for them is this: if you have things going on in your country and for some reasons you need to exit their country, maybe after your study permit expires, would you rather stay in their country as an illegal immigrant, or you will go back to your country? The thinking is, if you have something going on in your country, you would rather go back to your country than be an illegal immigrant in another person's country. That's really just the thinking. So if you have a house in your country, or you have landed property, or you have a running business, and then for some reasons you're out of status, maybe after your study or whatever happens, you will not want to be an illegal immigrant and leave all of those things back at home. You rather just go back to your country. So that's really the idea behind your home tie, right? So I think those are the three things top of the list. Again, just to summarize: proof of funds, and I watched the video to see my explanations on proof of funds. Second thing is purpose of visit, and then the third thing is home ties. So when you have done all of these things and they are clear in your mind, right, then it is now time to apply for the schools and the programs that you are interested in. If I get some time back, I can just do another video on how to narrow down to the choice of program, how to apply to schools, maybe also send you the link to the Canada immigration website where you can apply for your study permit. If I have time, I would maybe do a video, or maybe I don't know what my availability is going to look like. But if I have more time, I'm just going to I am able to show you, okay, your statement of purpose, this is what you should cover. I can use my own as an example. I can send you the link, show you the forms, and all of those if I have time, right? So, but yes, if you have crossed these three, you've thought about it and you found a solution to these three things, then we will be able to push for that. But if you seriously falter on any of these, know that there is going to be like a 50-50 chance that you might or you might not get the visa. This is not to say you should not apply. It's $150. So you can still take your chance, right? You miss 100% of the chances you don't take. So you can take your chance. But once you have been able to think through these three things and find justification for them, or explanations for them, or documentary evidences that would take care of these concerns, then 60%, 70%, you're good to go, right? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Nothing is coming to my mind now. So yeah, like I said, I'll find some time again and do some additional sessions. But yes, if you don't have the money, like I just keep saying, it's not worth it to waste your time and waste other people's time and waste your money. Because if you don't have the money and you come to the country, you're going to find it very difficult. It doesn't work where people say, okay, let me just, first of all, in most schools in Canada don't have payment plans. So in the UK, you have schools that allows you to pay your tuition over 12 months period or 6 months period. You hardly find those kind of schools in Canada. At best, you pay 2 installments, 3 installments. And I've been here, right? I don't think I have worked, I've done 2 months here. I don't think I have worked more than, I don't think I've worked up to 40 hours since I landed, because school is very demanding, right? And the kind of job you're going to be getting as a student, in most cases, are the minimum wage typed job. You're going to die if you work to earn your school fees and at the same time you attend school. I swear you're going to die, because you it's almost impossible. It's really almost impossible. In my own case, school is 4 days a week, right? Most offices are closed weekends, so I don't really get anything to do weekends, right? So where is the money going to come from to pay how much? So it's not going to work in this country. Maybe in the UK, maybe you can manage. Even at that, it's still going to be tough, but maybe you can manage. But here, it's very difficult. It's almost impossible to say, okay, and my school fees is $20,000. I'm going to pay 10,000 when I get to Canada. I will go and hustle the rest. It's difficult, very difficult, almost impossible. Um, Impossible does not mean it is. I mean, almost impossible does not mean it can't be done, but it's really very tough. Now, what I have also seen people do, which I will not advise, is people come, right, and thinking they're going to walk through it, right? And when they realize it's not possible, they drop out of school and they work. When they work for a while, they are able to pay their tuition. Maybe they defer or something, and then they continue. Now, the problem is that you already have a case. If you're lucky, when you come back to apply for anything with IRCC, they may not open that case up. But if anything goes wrong and they open your case and they discover that, oh, you got study permit and you were in the school and you dropped out and you started working, you don't know how it's going to play out, right? But once you are not in school, IRCC most likely will know that you're not in school. Your school may even notify them that, oh, this guy has dropped out or something like that. So they have that case. It can play against you in the future. But it doesn't mean people are not doing it. People are doing it, but you might just be the unlucky one, and you really do not want to be into such a problem, right? So that's why I would just advise that try and have your money, at least your school fees, and ideally they would say $10,000 for your upkeep. But if you have your school fees and 7,000, 6,000, it's still decent. In fact, if you can pay your full tuition, you have the money to pay your full tuition, maybe you can work to cover your living expense, your rent and your groceries and energy bill. You can cover those with your part-time work, right? But this idea that I don't even have money at all, I just want to come and hustle, it may just be tough. All right, guys, I need to run now. Thank you very much.